What if the strongest thing you can do is stop moving? Maybe faith isn't always found in fighting, but in the stillness that refuses to panic. Let's talk about it. David wrote these words at a time when injustice seemed to be winning, when the wicked prospered and the good people suffered in silence. Be still doesn't mean do nothing. It means stop the noise, quiet your heart before God. Wait patiently doesn't mean sit idly. It means to endure with faith, trusting God's timing when your own feels impossible. And do not fret means don't let the success of others, especially the unjust, ignite envy, despair, or resentment in your soul. This verse is countercultural. It tells us not to rush, not to rage, not to retaliate, but to trust. Stillness in God's presence isn't weakness, it's strength that no one sees, but heaven honors. Here on Walking the Way, we remind each other what Christ has already taught us to love God and to love our neighbor as ourselves. And I created the four witnesses to help us bring God's teachings and lessons into a modern context. Maya's going to share her story, and she's discovering that sometimes that love Jesus talks about begins in stillness, learning to trust when life feels unfair. That's where Maya is tonight. She's searching for answers, wondering how a loving God can allow so much pain. And when the world feels unbearable, she calls someone who knows how to listen.
The news was too much tonight. Another act of violence. Another story about children suffering. I sat there with the TV light flickering across the room and felt my chest tighten. How can God let this happen? I grabbed my phone and called Lucia. I didn't even think about what time it was. She was probably working another overnight at the hospital. But she answered. Of course she did. I asked her, Lucia, how can you believe in a loving God when the world looks like this? She paused, and then said something I didn't expect. She said,
Maya, if I'm going to blame God for the bad things, I have to give him credit for the good ones too. That's only fair.
she told me there are nights she feels the same way, that sometimes she gets angry too. But this verse, Psalm 37, verse 7, helps her stay grounded. Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for him. She said, I remind myself that his plan is better than mine, even when I can't see it yet. I'd rather trust his timing than live by my fear. And for a long time after we hung up, I just sat there, quiet, thinking about those words. Maybe faith starts in that quiet place, where you stop fighting to understand everything and start trusting that not everything needs to be fixed right now.
That's Maya's story. Stillness before God isn't about giving up, it's about letting go. It's about believing that his justice is real even when the world seems upside down. And it's about refusing to let anger and comparison steal your peace. We live in a world that rewards outrage. Everyone's shouting, posting, and reacting. But God's invitation is the opposite. Be still, wait patiently, trust me. Stillness is an act of faith that says, God, I trust you to handle what I cannot. It's how hope survives when nothing else makes sense. Now let's pause and reflect. Where do you most struggle to be still? In the news, your relationships, or your own thoughts? What does waiting patiently look like for you when life feels unfair? How might God be asking you to trust his timing instead of fighting for your own? Please share in the comments if you're comfortable. I'd love to know what it is that you're thinking. Let's take a step with him now by doing this walking practice today. Turn off your phone for 5 minutes. No scrolling, no noise. Just sit still and whisper, I trust you, God. Then let that silence be worship. If you've been restless, angry, or afraid, if injustice makes your spirit ache, let's bring that before the Lord together by praying now. Dear Father in heaven, whom through you truly all things are possible. When the world feels unfair, remind us that you still see, you still move, and you still reign. Teach us that stillness isn't weakness. It's trust made visible. Quiet our anxious hearts and steady our restless minds. Help us believe that your justice is sure, even when it feels far away. I pray all these things in your name, Jesus Christ. Amen. If you find it hard to pray sometimes, that's okay. I get it. Sometimes it's hard to pray. Sometimes I search for the words. Now, I just use a simple guide and structure. If you'd like to get a copy of that, perhaps it could help you. Put pray down in the comments. I'll make sure you get it. I hope this video brought Christ into your thinking now. And if you'd like to keep exploring how faith grows in stillness, let's go watch this video together. I look forward to seeing you over there.